Today we are going to learn time series analysis. So learning outcomes, by the end of this topic, students will be able to define the basic concept in time series analysis, draw time series data and determine the component of time series, and last, you need to know how to explain and apply moving average method in time series forecasting. So time series analysis is used when we are dealing with time series data. So a data is called as time series data if it was observed over a period of time, such as hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. So whenever you collect the data daily basis, we consider that the data that you collect is actually a time series data. So we have table 5.1. So in this table, this is actually the quarter sales of XYZ company. So we have first quarter, second quarter, third and fourth. So this data is collected yearly, and every year the data, they are going to have 4 sales. The first quarter sales for the first quarter for year 2015 is 25,000, and then for second quarter for the first year 2015 the sales is 31,000, so on, and until the end of the data that you collect here is for the year 2017. For the fourth quarter, the value is 42,000. So the graph that we have here is histogram. This is what we call as time series data, and then you plot the time, the sales of the XYZ company based on times. So we have year and quarter. So this is what we call as histogram. So figure 5.1, time plot monthly sales in XYZ company. So you just need to take the first one. So this is year 2015. For the first quarter you have 25, so you just draw 25, and then second quarter you have 31, so you point 31, 27, 46, and then after that you just connect the line. So this is what we call as time series plot or histogram. So in order for you to forecast any data that you have, first of all you need to know that time series data, we have we have 4 different components that actually influencing the data, the time series data. So the first one that we have here is trend, seasonal, cyclical, and then the last one we have irregular. So the symbol is TSCNI. So for the first one we have trend. So basically trend, the graph that you have either have increasing pattern somewhere, right, something like this, and then you can draw one line, and then the line shows that the data is increasing over time, or it can be decreasing. So you draw the line and then you get the value decrease over time, or no trend at all. So that's when your data is actually quite stagnant. It's moving but then it's stagnant, no trend, no increasing pattern or decreasing pattern. And then we have seasonal component, also known as seasonal variation. It is a behavior where the data series having repetitive fluctuation within a specific period of time. So this component can be observed. For example, we have higher sales of school uniform during end of the year, or increasing in number of dengue cases during rainy season, or the drop of number of customer in a restaurant during office hour. So this kind of case we can observe due to seasonal value, it decrease and increase over time. So that is seasonal. And then next we have the third one, we have cyclical. So for cyclical variation refers to the rises and falls of the time series data over a specific period of time. In other words, there will fluctuation in the data, but then involve long period of time. So for seasonal, it's quite short, maybe less than 2 years. But then for cyclical variation, in order for you to notice that the data is actually being influenced by cyclical variation, you need to collect the data over more than 10 years. Let's say you collect the data for 20 or 30 years, and you can see the cyclical pattern. So if you draw the graph, the seasonal, the repetition is smaller, but then for cyclical, the graph would be larger. So this is what the difference between seasonal and cyclical variation. And then the last one, the component in time series data, we have irregular or random. So irregular component describe the movement of the data series which completely unpredictable, not repetitive, and do not have any pattern. You cannot say that it's going to increase or decrease over time because it is completely random or irregular. So for example, natural disaster or this pandemic that we have right now, COVID-19, this is actually irregular. You cannot predict when we are going to have another pandemic like this. So when we have this kind of pandemics, our economy is severely affected. So your sales, if you have a company, then you depends on the customer to come to your store. So during this kind of pandemic, you are going to lose lots of customer. So since we cannot predict irregular, so the graph, we don't know what the graph, maybe it's going to be like this. Suddenly there's sudden drop in the graph. So this is irregular pattern or random component. So time series, in order for you to forecast using time series data, you need to know these 4 different component. Why? Because our time series model depends on this component. We are going to calculate our time series model, but then it is depends on the trend, seasonal, and cyclical. So the first model that we have is additive, and then the next one we have multiplicative. So for additive, you simply have to add y is actually your basically what you are going to forecast. So T is trend, S is seasonal, C cyclical, I stand for irregular. So it is also the same with multiplicative model, but then we only have to, in order for you to forecast Y, you need to multiply T, S, C, and I. But then since, like we discussed just now, cyclical, we need more than 10 years, maybe 20 or 30 years in order for you to notice that the data is being influenced by cyclical component. So it is quite impossible actually for you to collect that kind of data. And even for irregular component, we can't really predict when we are going to have war or when we are going to have pandemic. So that's why the N model that we are going to use in this chapter is only, in order for you to forecast Y, you need to multiply T and S, trend and seasonal variation. Okay, so this is the step that we need to forecast using time series data. So step number 1, you need to calculate trend. Step number 2, calculate or estimate seasonal variation. And then step number 3, you need to forecast time series data. To estimate trend using moving average method, the calculation will be depending on whether the average period is odd or even number. So what is odd, what is even? We are going to discuss this in our example later. So in this case, example 5.4, this is estimating trend for even periods moving average. What does it mean by even number? So the average period that you have in this question is first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So there are 4 quarters. So this is even number, or the average period that we have in this example is even number. Okay, so step number 1, calculate trend and seasonal variation. So first of all, you need to draw this table. So during a final examination, you need to draw this table. So the first column should be year and then quarter. And then y is actually the data that you have in the previous table, or the question will give you the data. So the first one, we have year 2015. For quarter 1, the value is 25. And then for the next quarter, second quarter, we have 31. So you need to write all the values of y into this table. And then after that, you need to calculate 4 moving total. Why does it mention here 4? Because in that particular question, in example 5.4, we have the average period is even number equals to 4. That's why 4 moving total. So in order for you to calculate 4 moving total, so if you notice here, we need to have gap between the quarter, the first quarter and the second quarter. We need to have extra row in between. So the first one, in order for you to calculate the moving quarter, so you need to, since it is 4, so you need to total up 4 numbers: 25, 31, 27, 46. And then you need to write the value in the middle. So since the value is 4, so the middle would be this row. That's why you need the gap between the quarter. So this is the total for 4 different quarters is 129. And then for the next calculation, why we call this method as moving average? Because after you total up 4 values, so the next number you need to left 25. The first one, we are not going to use the first one, the first number, this one. So the next one would be start from 31, 27, 46 and 63. So the middle value should be here between quarter 3 and quarter 4. And then for the next number, it is also the same. We need to proceed with the next one. So start from 27, 46, 63 and 34. You need to make sure that everything equals to 4. So the fourth, you total up. So this is the value we have here. And then when do you need to stop? When you try to total up the value. So this one, okay, this is 4 number. But then when you try for the next moving total, you start from here, you don't have 4 value. There's no value over here, so you need to stop. That's why no value over here. Okay, so that is how you need to calculate moving total. So for the next one, we have 4 moving average. So what is 4 moving average? So 129, you need to divide by 4. Why? Because the total just now, the calculation, we actually total up 4 different values. So in order for you to calculate the average, you need to divide by 4. So the first year, quarter and y, there's no calculation. This is from the question. So 4 moving total, you need to total up 4. Since the average period is 4, and then you need to calculate the average. Since the total just now you total up 4 different values, so over here you need to divide by 4, and then you need to calculate the trend. So this is actually what we want in the first step, calculate the trend. Okay, in order for you to calculate the trend, first you need to total 32.25 and 41.75, so you are going to get 74. 74 you need to divide by 2. Why? This is the average of the number that you total up just now. So 74 divided by 2, you're going to get 37. And then you need to be very alert over here. You need to read the question. If the question asks for 3 decimal places, you need to write 3 decimal places. But then if the question doesn't mention any decimal places, you need to use 4 decimal places. Okay, so the next value, you need to take 41.75. So this is moving average. Why? Because it moving down. You need to have the first value are not going to be included in the second one. So 41.75 plus 42.5, you are going to get 44.25. And then you need to divide by 2, and then the value for the trend is actually 42.125. So this is also the same to the rest of the value. Okay, so the next step is actually to calculate the seasonal variation. So by right, you only have to add another column over here for seasonal variation. So the formula for seasonal variation is actual value. So the actual is actually y divided by trend multiplied by 100. So this is the formula. So we have the y. So this is the y. But then for the first row, we don't have the trend, so you don't have to calculate. Second row, we don't have the trend value, so you just need to skip that row. So the third one, the third quarter, we have the value over here. So actually you just need to take y is 27. So over here we have 27 divided by 37 multiplied by 100. So this is how you need to calculate. So this is no value, no value, and this is also the same. 46 divided by 42.125 multiplied by 100. So actually you need to just add another column for seasonal variation, but then in your books they actually prepared another table. So this is the value that we have. The step is actually the same. So after you calculate all the seasonal variations, so we need to proceed to the next step, which is to calculate the seasonal indices. Okay, so step number 2, estimating seasonal indices. This is indices. Okay, so this is actually the previous table. So during final examination, for calculating or forecasting using time series data, you need to draw the first table in the previous slide. So this one is another table that you need to know. You need to draw this. So how do you get the value? So this is depends on the calculation that you do from the previous table. So to make it easier, I already have it here. So the first one, so this data is actually for the third, so this is second quarter, first and second quarter. There's no value for seasonal variation, so you just don't have to fill in the value. So start from the third quarter, the value for the seasonal variation is 72.9730. So you put the value over here. And then the fourth quarter, we have 109.1988. And then you proceed with year 2016 until 2017. And then for 2017, you only have for the first and second quarter. So the third and the fourth quarter would be no value. So after that, you need to calculate the total. So you need to total up this value. So you are going to get 2993198. This is also the same. And then you need to calculate the mean. For the mean, since you total up two values over here, so you need to divide this value 299 divide by 2. So you are going to get 149.6599. So this is also the same for the rest of the data. And then we have actual total over here. You need to remember, after you calculate the mean for every quarter, you need to calculate the actual total. So you total up every value that you have in the mean, this one, this one, this one, and this one, you're going to get the actual total. So for this example, the actual total is actually 403.2763. Okay, so the next step, you need to calculate CF. CF is actually correction factor. So the formula for the correction factor is the required total divided by actual total. So we have the actual total, but what is the required total? So for this question, we have 4 different quarters. So if you have 4 different quarters, we assume that for one quarter, it is equals to 100. So since you have 4 quarters, so it is going to be 400. The actual value is 400. So for this one, you don't have to calculate it. You just need to write 400 divided by 403.2762. So let it be. Don't press the calculator. And then you're going to get, so this is what we want actually from this table. So in order for you to calculate the seasonal indices, mean multiplied by correction factor. So this value, you get this value 148.4440 from correction factor 400 divided by 403.2762 multiply with the first mean. Since we are going to calculate for the first quarter, it is 149.6599, and then you press the calculator, you're going to get 148.4440. And then every calculation is the same. So this one multiply this one, and then after that you need to total up everything. The value should be equals to 400. If you don't get 400, then the calculation is wrong. So the last step, step number 3, is actually forecasting. So let's say the questions wants you to estimate the sales for the third quarter of 2018. So you need to check the first table that you draw. You need to check first of all the value of the trend. So I already have the table here, but then if you check with your table, the last value that you have for the trend is actually for year 2017 for the second quarter. The value for the sales is actually 36, but then for the trend 45.25. So we need the value. The question asks you to forecast third quarter year 2018. So this is second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. You have all the values, but then the value of the last trend that you have is for the second quarter year 2017. So what we need actually is the third quarter for the year 2018. So you need to calculate the number of steps ahead. So for this thing, actually you just need to calculate the empty row that we have here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the number of steps ahead that you need. Okay, so first you calculate the average increase. You check with the first table. the last trend that you have is 45.25, and then the first trend value that you have is 37, and then you need to divide how many trend do you have. This value, how many trend do you have? So you need to calculate how many trend values. In this question we have 8, so minus 1. So you're going to get the average increase equals to 1.1786. So this is t hat, or the estimation of t. This is not the actual value. We are just going to estimate because 2018 is not happening yet. We are going to forecast the value. Just imagine that we are right now in the year of 2017, and then suddenly your boss need to forecast how many sales we are going to get for the third quarter year 2018. So this is how you need to calculate. So first you need to calculate the average increase, and then you need to calculate the number of steps ahead, and then you need to estimate the trend values. So the last trend values, so over here 45.25, so this is the number of steps ahead that we have just now. Multiply with the average increase, then you are going to get the trend values 51.1429. And then the last step to forecast, so this is the formula. The formula over here is y hat, this is the estimation, the trend multiply with the seasonal indices divided by 100. So this is the formula. So 51 we have from this, the trend values, and 70 is actually the seasonal indices of quarter 3. So you need to check your seasonal indices table, and then the value for the third quarter for the seasonal is actually 70.8912, and divide by 100. So the final value you are going to get 36.2558. And then refer to the question, since the data that we collect actually is in thousand, so you need to multiply by 1000. So the final answer is the total sales for the company XYZ for the third quarter of 2018 would be 36,255.80 thousand. So this is the final value, the forecasted value.